From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of In Focus. We have a wonderful conversation today. Joining me across the desk is Michael Squindo. He is the Executive Director of the Westfield Council on Aging, and Mike and I today are going to talk about all the great things that are happening with our local seniors, but a lot of the issues facing our local seniors, which is why your local senior center and council on aging can help all of those older loved ones that we each have. Mike, thank you so much for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. Just a quick little background about you and your career working with, I guess the umbrella term is elder services. Does that sound good?
Older adults, yeah.
Older adults? Okay.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of background.
Sure. So I started in 2013 working at the East Longmeadow Senior Center. I was brought in part-time temporarily, and long story short, ended up liking it, applied for a job, stayed, ended up with my master's degree. And my boss at the time, basically, we joke all the time that she coached me out and sent me off to the next world, which was outreach services in Longmeadow.
Okay.
I was there for about 2 years, and then a position opened up at the Agawam Senior Center. So I applied, got that job, and I was the director at the Agawam Senior Center for about 6 years before I came to Westfield, where I've been for 2 years. So that's a very short version.
That's the short version, but that's good. It shows that you've been in multiple communities, which I always think is valuable because, if you're in one community for your entire career, you sort of get the blinders on. So, but you've had that ability to work with multiple communities. So you see the things that are common across communities, but what might be unique and things that you can bring from one community to the next. So I think that's wonderful that you've kind of broadened your wings and now that you're in Westfield. Westfield, obviously bigger than East Longmeadow, bigger than Longmeadow, bigger than Agawam. What sort of challenges did that role bring to you that you enjoy? Some of the things that Westfield, being a bigger community, it's what the third largest in Pioneer Valley.
Well, I think the larger the community, the more diverse the population, right? You don't know everybody. They have dramatically different needs. Westfield is probably the most city-like community. I know we call these communities cities, but people think city like, New York City. But Westfield being the biggest city that I've worked in the area, I think that you're balancing dramatically different interests among a wide swath of a sub-demographic of seniors. And within that senior population, you're talking about 3 to 4 generations.
It's interesting you say that because, I've talked to, other people in your position, and they go, you have to think about what a senior center caters to. It's the 60-year-old, it's the 100-year-old. That's a 40-year difference. I don't think most people realize that huge generational difference.
Right, and I'll add in Westfield that as of January, the board, the Council on Aging Board of Directors included the 55-year-olds. So we actually go down 5 years from what people think of when they think of older adults.
So now, if you're in Westfield and you're 55 years old, you can join the Westfield Senior Center.
Yeah, so I tell everybody, if you're breathing and you're willing to play by our rules, you can join.
Okay.
We target 55 and older for programming and services. So we try to understand that we need to recruit folks before they quote unquote need us.
Right.
As we were talking before we started, that if you wait until you're 75 or 80, that your life has gotten to a point where it's much harder for you to engage that community if you're not already part of it.
Okay.
So if we're providing services to the folks at 55, 60, which might be volunteering opportunities, then we're getting their foot in the door and they're getting introductions to the staff and to the community and realizing what we have to offer.
So what you're telling me is at 58 years old, I can now participate in my Westfield Senior Center.
Right.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about, through your travels and your time dealing with older adults, what are some of the biggest issues that are facing older adults here, in mid-2020s?
Yeah. So I think, Patrick, you'd be not so surprised to hear that it's very similar to what most people are facing. We're just adding age to the conversation, right? So we're talking financial insecurity, housing issues, food security, most recently at the forefront of conversations in the last couple of months. We're talking about transportation needs. These are things that I think everybody at some point in their life faces. But on top of all that, we're talking about the aging individual, right? So our bodies are changing as we get older. We have more risks for injury as we get older. So on top of all the things we face throughout our life, we're adding to that a body that is shifting in a way that puts us at more risk, as well as our friends age with us, as they pass on, as they move into nursing homes, and we become more isolated. We have that social determinant of health as well.
And people are living longer today
Absolutely.
than they ever have. So you've got to keep active. You got to keep healthy. And that's where your local senior center comes into play.
Absolutely, 100%. So we provide a myriad of services. As I say to everybody, we try to keep you young.
Okay.
We try to keep you young through mental engagement, through social engagement, through physical engagement, and then providing services to help with those tangible issues that are so hard to understand and navigate when you have all these other things at play.
Right. We are up on our first commercial break. We are going to get into some of those issues a little bit deeper when we come back, so stay with us.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to today's In Focus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios. Mike Squindo from the Westfield Council on Aging is with me today, talking about your local Council on Aging, your local senior center, some of the benefits you, if you're now 55 and older, can take advantage of. And 55 and older isn't every senior center. That just happens to be Westfield.
Correct.
There are a few in our area, though, that are 55 and older. And I've shared the story. I've shared it with you and your predecessor, Tina, and a few of the others that I know in your world. My mom, when she was still alive, it took me years to convince her to go down and at least see the Westfield Senior Center. And I finally got her down there to the new one, which is not new anymore. It's 10 years old.
10 years old.
But she was like, wow, this is a great place. But at that point, she was in her late 80s. So it's a shame that she missed like 20 years plus of taking advantage of it. But they are such great resources for our older adults. You mentioned before we went to break some of the issues facing our seniors, and let's check kind of, if we can, let's like tick through them.
Sure.
The first one is probably the most important, is financial. Yep. Senior centers are great resources for free or low cost services. Walk me through some of the things. Let's talk about Westfield specifically, that seniors can take advantage of at the Westfield Senior Center.
So at the Westfield Senior Center, we have a low cost nutrition program. In-house, we provide meals daily. 4 days a week is lunch, and on Fridays we actually do a breakfast program.
Okay.
That's $4 if you dine in with us, $5 if you do takeout, and the takeout has some parameters to it. We also have partnered with the Highland Valley Elder Services Program to provide curbside lunches, so we could continue that program. That's a $4 donation, so we also try to be accessible financially in that regard. We offer.
How popular are those lunches and breakfasts? I mean, does the senior center get crowded? You guys move a lot of meals?
So we're kind of still working through that post-pandemic return to normal, right? And I think that was just a matter of some policy changes and being able to offer those meals 5 days a week as we do now. But we're seeing growth. We're up to probably an average of about 45 to 50 people daily.
Wow.
Depending on the meal and what the weather looks like.
Of course, yeah.
And then similarly, numbers outside on the curb. So, you're talking somewhere between 70 and 80 people daily on our nutrition program overall.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, what types of meals are being provided? I mean, are they catered meals? Like, do you have a kitchen? Do you have where do the meals come from? I guess.
So we have a kitchen at the senior center. It was built as part of the building. We have 2 staff plus several volunteers that provide those meals in-house.
Okay.
Those are completely what we call conventional cooked, so they're prepared on site. We also, through Highland Valley, offer 2 choices of meals. So if you are a program participant at the Westfield Senior Center, you actually get a choice of up to 3 meals on a daily basis.
Wow.
Which I think is phenomenal. I've always had a vision and a goal of being able to offer 2 meals a day.
Right.
So with partnership to do 3.
That's fantastic.
Is pretty awesome. The Highland Valley meals in particular also follow a set of federal nutritional guidelines for older adults that have more dietary needs.
Right.
And then the meals in-house, while they don't necessarily aren't as strict, we obviously try to recognize that we want to do as low sodium as possible.
That makes sense.
So
that makes sense.
So we offer those.
It sounds like they're very healthy meals.
Yeah, overall.
And designed really for older adults.
Overall, they are.
Okay.
Overall, they are. I would say for those of us who have a sweet tooth, the in-house meals offer a better traditional dessert. We get donations from our local grocery stores, and so we're able to give away those pies and cakes and fun things more often.
Okay.
In addition to our nutrition program, we offer exercise programs at low cost. So we partner with various instructors, either individually. We partner with the Westfield YMCA to offer some yoga classes. We contract with those services so that we're able to control the costs and keep our costs down. I think we're averaging somewhere between $3 and $5 a class.
Oh, nice.
So we try to keep those down. And then for folks who are struggling, even at those rates, we do have funding made available to us to try and offset some of those costs for seniors.
Now, it's amazing that the costs are that low, just a few dollars for exercise and for food. Do you find in your travels, in talking with the folks that come through the door, that finances are really a hot button?
They are. In general, but I think with these particular programs, it's also a matter of priority, right? So if you're providing a service that people want, that people need, they're willing to pay what they can afford to pay.
Okay.
And so really we're looking for that honest conversation of this is what we need in order to make this program run. But we also recognize that you have a budget and you can only afford what you can afford. So if you have an open communication with us, because we control the fees and we're not as dependent on outside grants and funding sources, we can work with those individuals to the best of our ability to make the cost even more effective for others.
So are the programs that are available, are they dictated by you and your staff, or is it a sort of a ground up, the people that come in say, hey, we want to do this. We want a cribbage league, or we want, a different exercise class, or do you guys say, hey, we're offering a cribbage league?
That's a great question. And actually we addressed this at our 10-year anniversary on October 26th. And we really are focused on what I call organic development from the ground up. We want to hear from our participants what's of interest to them. We want to run programs that they want. And I think part of that is also recognizing that, I'm a numbers guy. So if the numbers aren't panning out that this is a successful program, that tells for itself. But I think when we talk about fees for service, we also have to recognize what are the prohibitive factors that might drive those numbers down. A great example is our art classes. We historically have offered art classes that partner with the Sarah Gillett Fund and Foundation. And so depending on how that was funded, at part times of the year, it was a fee for service. Other times it was free. This year, we were able to get funding that allowed us to make it free for the whole year. And we've seen that basically max out our classes so far that we've offered. We've offered them since early fall, I believe. And they've maxed out at 16 people is what the room can accommodate with art supplies.
Really?
And they've just been full.
That is fantastic. So these classes that you're doing, they're sort of multi-purpose, I guess is the right word. It's like the art class or the card games or whatever. It's keeping people active, keeping their minds active, but also doing things that they're interested in.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So everything that we do at the Senior Center, first and foremost, I say to everybody, it's socialization, right? I think that's so important to understand that whether you're attending a fitness program, an art class, or lunch, you're getting socialization. On top of that, to your point, whether, mahjong, art, card games, those all engage your brain in a way that I think some studies have shown, but I think we could do more understanding of it. The brain engagement is great for helping to deter and prolong any onsets of memory issues. So I think it's multifaceted. And then we also get to a place where, as we talked about having multiple generations of seniors, we also have that in and of itself is an intergenerational opportunity. And so if we can bring in other generations, the kids and the young adults that engage our seniors and our older adults, that has a benefit for society, for that socialization and understanding other people than ourselves.
And socialization has been proven that it helps with longevity.
Absolutely. Socialization or the lack thereof is as much a social determinant of health as smoking or not smoking, as over drinking, as exercise and dieting properly. So I just had a conversation with a group of colleagues about this relative to, how we market ourselves at the state level. And I think one of the things we need to do a better job of is explaining that we're not just a recreational facility in the sense that all we do is socialize. We have to recognize that socialization is a key component of health for our older adults and people.
Well, it's socialization, nutrition, information. You get a wealth of information from the different things that you can find at your senior center. And we are up on our next commercial break. We'll talk more about that when we come back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone. Today on this edition of InFocus, we are talking about your local senior center, your local council on aging. Joining me across the desk is Mike Squindo, the executive director of the Westfield Council on Aging. Michael, thank you so very much for joining me. Greatly appreciate your time. Before we went to break, we talked about some of the additional programs and services that a local senior center can provide. We're talking specifically about Westfield, but contact your local senior center, whatever town you live in, because some of these programs might be available. Aside from the nutrition, aside from the socialization, there's information. What are some of the things people can get from the Westfield Senior Center to help them in their life?
Sure. So right off the bat, it's Medicare open enrollment season. So we actually have two Shine counselors. One is a staff member and one is a volunteer. So they'll help you kind of navigate the whole world of insurance, whether you're new to Medicare turning, 65, or you're returning and just looking for a review. We offer other state benefit assistance through our offices. We offer various levels of case management assistance. And then we have programs that are kind of more periodic depending on the year. So we've got the AARP tax program coming up in the upcoming tax season.
Right.
So you can have your taxes prepared at no cost if you're low to moderate income. We have the senior work-off program that if you're an individual living in Westfield and needing help with getting a abatement on your taxes, provide a little bit of volunteer to the city and have some reduction in your taxes.
Really?
Yes.
Do some volunteer work for the city and you have your property taxes reduced a certain amount.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Westfield reduces them for seniors at $800 less applicable taxes.
Wow.
And then for veterans, I believe it's $1,500.
Wow.
So
any seniors out there complaining about your property taxes or veterans, go contact your senior center. Have it knocked down a little bit.
Yeah. We're in a hiatus right now, but we're hoping to bring back the foot care program where we provide low-cost foot toenail trimmings to individuals.
But speaking of healthcare,
yes,
in foot care and eye care and all of that, you explain to me what a Shine counselor does.
Sure.
Because Shine is an acronym for something.
Yes.
I have no idea what it is, but
serving health insurance needs of everyone, on Medicare, and to some degree those on Mass Health.
Okay.
And so really what they do is they spend 40 hours in their initial training period to learn all about the different parts of Medicare and the chaos of insurance.
So I want to stop you there because the frustrating thing about Medicare is it is extremely complicated.
Yes.
And our older adults, it's nothing against you folks watching. It's just a nature of life and aging. We start to lose some of our cognitive ability. So they create this healthcare plan that is so confusing and give it to our older adults that have a more difficult time understanding the nuances. And that's where your Shine counselor
are invaluable.
Oh my God.
And I say that as a former Shine counselor and somebody who's clearly not an older adult yet. It's confusing to me.
Oh yeah.
And it changes every year. So what worked for you for the last 5 years might not work for you tomorrow.
Okay.
Right? And so that's why I say to everybody, talk to a Shine counselor.
And even though open enrollment is every fall, people turn 65 in June, in April, in August.
Oh yes.
So that Shine counselor is available all year long.
Those Shine counselors are generally available all year round. Again, depending on the senior center, will change, to what degree. But there are, I'll call them county agencies that provide the Shine counseling year round. So if you're new to Medicare because you're turning 65 or you're 68 and retiring from your job and now it's time to start looking at that, they're available for you and they'll walk you through the details of that process. They're non-biased. They don't get paid for what they're doing. They don't get commissions for what they're doing. They just exist to serve the needs of people getting on or already on Medicare.
So, but Westfield's Shine Counselor is an employee of the city of Westfield. They're not. They're not getting any kickbacks from any insurance companies.
No. Yeah, she's a volunteer for the Shine program, if you will. But Lynn Hills is our Westfield Shine Counselor.
Okay.
And she is phenomenal. We actually, with this year and with the addition of our new volunteer Shine Counselor, we're trying to schedule right now. We're booked out of close to 300 individuals.
Holy smokes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So, and we're way, there's a lot of people that we're having to direct to other locations. So the need is much higher than we're able to meet.
Right.
So we recognize that.
So that's the healthcare side. But I also want to throw in Westfield, if I understand correctly, the Veteran Services Officer is also located in the Senior Center, correct?
Yeah, we are a one-stop shop for many, many people. And I think that's a best practice for senior centers in my experience. I've had senior centers I've worked in that have the VSOs, the Veteran Service Officers. I've worked in senior centers where they're not in the building. And there's a lot of overlap in our population. And to be able to just say, right down the hall, we can connect you with the Veteran Service Officers. And we have a phenomenal team here in Westfield. So if you're a veteran in Westfield, definitely check out our Veteran Service Officers, Julie and James.
You know, one of the things I learned through my father aging, and I've shared this with other VSOs, in Chicopee and other towns and whatever. I remember my father saying, I don't need those benefits. Save them for the next person. What a lot of folks, and I've been kind of using my position here at 22 News as sort of a pulpit to tell people, veterans specifically, they're for you. They're not for you to pass on. So take advantage of those veterans benefits. You can go see your VSO in Westfield, any community. Every community, it's by law in the state of Massachusetts, every community has a VSO. So there are benefits out there for you.
And if I could just add on to that very quickly, I also tell both the veterans and the seniors, when it comes to those types of entitlement programs, you've put into them either directly through finance or through service or both. So if you don't take advantage of them, it's just money sitting there.
And I'm glad you used the word entitlement, because a lot of times entitlement has a negative connotation, but you served our country. You paid money into these programs, reap the benefits. Yes. Don't complain that you're not getting things because, but you paid for those or you served our country, so take advantage. Other things that you can get from your senior center, I know some senior centers do trips, like travel. Does Westfield do anything like that?
So we don't directly. We have a volunteer. So our Whip City Travelers have disbanded their formal group. They're still working with the agency that they had partnered with through a volunteer that provides some trips. It's a development that we're waiting to see how that plays out just at the end of this year, whether or not that agency is still able to provide services or not. So.
Okay. So what else am I missing as far as Westfield goes? I know there's a lot in there.
Westfield goes. Well, let's see. We've got 3 beautiful billiards tables for the folks who like to play pool.
Okay.
And I will tell everybody now that I categorize that as a fitness program. It was
absolutely.
It was an article not long ago in the Local a couple of years ago that talked about an average game of billiards, you're walking a mile.
Well, not only that, think about bending over, lining up your shot, your shoulder movements, lubricating your joints by taking the shot. Oh, absolutely.
And the mental exercises of thinking about the
strategy,
geometric shapes to get the balls to roll the right way. It's all this stuff that we don't think about.
Well, not only the mental, you gotta trash talk the guy you're playing or woman you're playing against too. That's all fun.
Even as a bystander, I trash talk my seniors. They love it. It's a communal opportunity.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Mike, we are out of time, but I want to thank you so very much for joining me. Folks, go down to find out where your local senior center is and your Council on Aging. Take advantage of those services. They are wonderful organizations. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.